we'll have it's Orange and Blue Bloods Thursday. It's always a good night tonight. We got a couple other little wrinkles for you. We'll be leading off with Kyle Curtis in a poll. A question you want to know about this because it has some interesting responses. We want to get yours. Of course, that means Ben Troop will be here. Gonna make an announcement about Ben coming to Ocala. And we've got the Iron Duke. We haven't had him all week long. Franz will be loading us up with stuff. And of course, Lauren Meadows, the coach. All coming your way tonight. Right here on Orange and Blue Bloods Thursday. Tell your friends and neighbors the Buddy Martin Show is on the air.
It's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Good evening and welcome to the program. On a Thursday night, I'm Buddy Martin. The program is heard 4 nights a week and maybe more during football. You never know. Lots of things on the drawing board. It'll be my great pleasure to have the cast tonight of our All-Stars, including leadoff man Kyle Curtis, a poll which you're going to want to know about. I'll give you a little tip about it. It's about who would you hire as a football coach right now? Somebody who's not got a job, all right? Then we'll have talk with Ben Troop. He's always an upbeat guy. Do you love Ben Troop or what? I mean, he's preaching a sermon tonight, I'm sure. We'll get a good one from Pastor Ben. Franz Beard is loaded with stuff. Had a very good article on offensive lines in the SEC today. We'll talk about that. See where he ranked Florida and why. And then the coach, Lauren Meadows, always adds perspective. So let's get right into that. Let's go first with a quick commercial. Tell you about our friends at Titan MRI. Titan MRI, worth the short drive to Gainesville. No insurance, no problem. You can pay with cash or card with same-day scheduling available. You start to feeling better today because Titan MRI is North Central Florida's premier independent MRI facility. Come see why hundreds of patients are visiting our Gainesville location from Ocala, Marion County, and the villages. That's TitanMRI.com. All right, to the orange and blue room. I think we got them stacked up in there. Let's go first with leadoff man Kyle Curtis, who's got a little poll for you. Good evening here to you, Kyle. Welcome back to America after being gone so long in Omaha.
All right, how's everyone doing? I'm excited. This is you sent me the question earlier, and I think it's something really cool that a lot of people, haven't really brought up, but it's a cool topic to bring up.
Yeah, I'm going to do something over here right now. I want you to log off and log back. And I'm going to get you straightened out on the Wi-Fi. So do that and come right back,
Okay.
all right? All right, Kyle Curtis will be right back with you. So get our adjustments here. And I think we'll have Ben Troop right behind him. And looks like Kyle's back. And now maybe we'll have a little better signal. All right, Kyle. Yeah, you got your poll going, right?
Doing good? Yes, sir. So here's the question. It's you need to hire a college football head coach, but you can only pick from former college coaches who are not currently coaching college or NFL, and they have to be alive. So, going through all these comments and stuff like that, I tallied who was mentioned most and stuff like that. And to no one's surprise, the top 2 guys were Gator guys.
Don't tell who they are. Don't tell it yet. You never give it a reveal away at the top. You always wait. What's interesting?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, these are the things you got to kind of roll out there because it's not a local poll. It's not a Gator poll. It's just a poll, as you said. It's just if you're going to hire a coach and you have to pick from someone who is not employed either in college or the NFL, who would be your top choice? And the interesting thing is that this is not something that was generated out of here. So there were two guys especially that were interesting. So why don't you go backwards and start with number 3 and go up to number 1 here, all right?
All right, so number 3 is actually a guy, Chris Peterson. And this is
Boise
a
State and Washington.
college football account. Chris Peterson, he's a guy that Boise State, University of Washington, kind of raised that whole Boise State culture there. Remember, I think it was early 2000s, kind of around the time that Urban and all those guys were doing good. He helped bring Boise State to the top, and then he went to Washington and actually led Washington to their first college football playoff. And now he's just an analyst at Fox, so I'm sure he's had calls and stuff like that. But I think that he would be top of the list at turning around a program. So, and then we got number 2 is the old ball coach, Steve Spurrier.
How about that? 78 years old, and these are people who admitted in the poll they don't like him. They're like Georgia fans; they don't like him, but they'd like to have him as his coach. Yeah.
It wasn't even just Florida fans either. I mean, you got South Carolina Gamecock guys, and they're saying the old ball coach because
don't ever say the old ball coach. He doesn't like that.
The head ball coach.
Head ball coach, right? There you go. Remember,
but yes, he did. My apologies, Mr. Burton, the head ball coach. But yes, he did just as much in the eyes of South Carolina fans for that program as he did at Florida. Being a player and then obviously coming back and coaching. So he was number 2. And there was honestly a pretty decent gap between 1 and 2 between.
But
the rest
he
of
had by far the most
candidates.
number 2. He was by far the number 2 guy.
Oh yeah, by far. And then at number 1, a guy Urban Meyer, a guy who brought us 2 national championships.
Urban Meyer was by far 3 times more than second place, the choice of these fans, variety of fans. If they had to hire a coach, Urban Meyer. What do you think about that?
And like I said, similar to the Steve Spurrier situation. These aren't just Gator fans hopping in there. These are SEC people, Ohio State fans, even NFL people coming in there saying you can't really deny what he did at the University of Florida when he was there and what he was able to accomplish. And even if he didn't have a successful run in the NFL, I mean, Nick Saban didn't do good in the NFL. So basing someone's career off the NFL and college, it's 2 different games. And I think that Urban Meyer sort of solidified himself as one of the greatest college football head coaches of all time.
Yeah, and the more the years go on, the more people think even better than we thought then. Not just me and not just others, but a lot of people rank him like one of the 2 or 3 all-time greatest coaches just because of what he did and how he did it. So that was interesting. So again, give me some. Who else was on that list? And by the way, you folks out there listening, Dan Bond, Alex Perez, Christopher Davis, Robin Lineberger, my cousin. If you got somebody, who would you hire? Give me your coach. If you're going to hire somebody currently not employed as a coach, but to hire, just make up a school. I don't care if it's Georgia Tech or if it's Colorado State or if it's South Florida. You're the guy. Who are you going to hire, right? Who is it? And remember, it's really a difficult time now for older coaches to deal with all the pressures of NIL, and the recruiting. And all the stuff going on there, transfer portals. So it's an interesting question from that standpoint, which would automatically rule out Steve Spurrier. Urban, not so much. I know coaches have said they don't want to do it again, but still, I think it's a different kind of guy to be hired right now, don't you?
Yeah, exactly what you just said. It's a completely different game than from even when Urban was coaching 10 years ago. The NIL combination, the recruiting, the whole social media aspect of things, being able to be relatable with all these recruits, and it's a completely different game that everyone sees the product on the field on Saturday, but there's 6 other days in the week that these guys are working their tails off. So there's a lot more that goes into it. But some of the other guys mentioned, and I actually did, it was fun going through it. So starting from the bottom was Jim Tressel, Ohio State guy. He was actually suspended for, paying his players, something that wouldn't be a problem in today's game.
The whole Jersey thing, remember?
Yep. And then Ed Orgeron, the old LSU guy, who kind of he had one good year with LSU there, and then kind of fizzled out a little bit. Bob Stoops, another guy, mentioned a decent bit. Had his time at Oklahoma, coordinator for under Meyer.
Under Spurrier.
Under Spurrier, my bad. And Bill Clark, he's a UAB guy.
Now, he's an interesting guy. He's a heck of a coach.
Oh my gosh. And I didn't know too much about him, and I kept seeing his name, and I actually read a fantastic article. If you guys ever get the chance, I would look him up and read his story. He was able to bring UAB had completely suspended their football program. They thought they weren't going to have a football team anymore. And, this guy came in and he completely turned around the program and just changed the culture there. And, if I'm making a call, that honestly might be one of those guys that I think could step in and take over in this kind of new era. Another guy is Jimmy Johnson. Everyone knows Jimmy Johnson. He had his heyday there in Miami. I think he won 3 national championships. Just a really good coach, and I like watching him on NFL on Fox on Sundays. So, but those were the main names I saw throughout that. But I had a lot of fun going through there and kind of went reading what all the crazy football fans had to say on Twitter.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, I'll be writing probably something about that the weekend. I actually have a call into a former Urban Meyer associate to get his take on it. I can tell you this much. It's no way, no how right now. Okay. And I don't know that it'll ever change. But I want to get a take from one of his good friends and see if there's any wiggle room there, I would be against Urban coaching again. I've told him that. I think he needs to stay making lots of money, good in television, But there's a lot of demand for a good football coach right now. A lot of demand, a lot of money, and you wonder how long you can go without being tempted. And I don't think his wife would let him. Shelley probably put a body block on him not going out the door. But it's interesting. We saw this with Tom Brady. And Tom Brady wound up losing his family over it. All right, so let me give you one little last scenario here while we're waiting on Troop. I saw this, and I'm thinking about writing I saw this podcast today. I don't even know how I got it. It was like on Facebook somehow, popped out of nowhere. And some guy with a Tennessee big T behind him and all this stuff. And he's rattling on about DJ Lagway, about how he thinks he's been flipped to Clemson. Well, this is a guy who had no sources. And what he did was he used he said, she said stuff, other people. He cut and pasted other people's podcasts. He had it from somebody who was a Miami assistant. There's a great source for you about Florida, right? About how that he was going to be flipped and he was coming to Clemson, blah, 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 blah. Now, look, I know anything is possible today in the way things are. And it could happen. But it's not going to happen. It's about 1 in a million of it happening. And he had Allie Peake Wilbur's podcast. He cut and pasted a segment out of it and used it. And I called Allie and said, who is this guy? She said, I have no idea. He didn't ask permission for this. But the thing about it is the bite he took from her when he made this supposition, he said, she said, he used her bite. And she said, I don't see it ever happening. Number one, Lagway's recruited a big part of the class. He's the guy who brought these guys. Why would he up and do that now? Which I think is a really good logic. But I want to say that because in today's world, we have so much rumor material. Everything's based on rumor. They take some guy's podcasts from Jack Legg from another school who has a source in Miami, and he does this podcast. Now, everybody's got a podcast. I know we're not the only ones. There's thousands of them, right? But I guess it's in a world today where things are so hectic you could put up a podcast today, Kyle, and you do a good job if you did, saying that Florida's changing its colors next year to red. And somebody would pick it up. That's where we are, Kyle.
No, I know. Trust me, I know. You could. I think that you could go on there and say that the sky is black or red or something like that,
and the world's flat.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I would never say never, especially in today's world. And I don't know. We haven't had good luck with the quarterback, especially recruits here these past few years. But kind of like you said, me and Matt were talking about it, or Matt and I were talking about it this past weekend. And the way that Lagway is recruiting for the Gators, it's every day that he's on there tweeting, saying how important that this class is and how it's going to change the route of Florida football for the future and everything. I don't know. I just don't see that happening. I don't see how that makes sense for him. Trying to drag all these guys to Gainesville just for him to turn their back on him right away, or him turning their back on all of them.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say it's impossible, but like you said, I think it's 1 in a million. People love to stir the pot, especially fans of other schools and stuff like that. People love to stir this pot. They always will. You got to take it with a grain of salt and just move on. And he's still committed to Florida. He's still recruiting, and that's the facts right now.
That is the facts. Facts are something hard to come. Once again, your story is based on this website. It's at footballnerds.com. I don't know if I got it right. Is that what it is? I forget. Doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it doesn't. Collegefootballnerds.com. I don't know. It's just a tweet.
Yeah, it's a tweet. So it premises you have to hire a football coach. You can only pick from former college coaches who are not currently coaching or in the NFL. Who you going to pick first? And you said, you gave me the stats. I may write about this weekend. Urban Meyer was mentioned 72 times. 72 times. And some of the comments were quite interesting. I'm sure you read them. And the next closest person is 26 times, and it's Steve Spurrier. Steve Spurrier is 78 years old. Now, I love the good ball coach. I think he can still coach, but my gosh, the demands for a guy who didn't like to spend 90 hours a week in the office, I don't know. And then Chris Peterson, we mentioned, 12 times we mentioned. Then Bill Clark, who really is answering, would be a good hire for somebody. Bob Stoops, 8, both of them, Bob Stoops. And Ed Orgeron, I can't get that at all. And finally, Jim Tressel, the opposed coach last day. That's what you got there. All right, so one more little tidbit here. I read Gator's Breakdown had a story, a podcast. David does a really good job on that. He said, opposing coach says. That's what opposing coach, unnamed. Billy Napier inherited the least talented Florida Gators roster in 20 years. Now that's a bit, I think it was.
That's a heavy statement.
Yeah, it is a heavy statement. I mean, there were some ball players on there. I don't think they were totally. Now, if you count the ones that sort of quit at the end of the year, I guess that would be right. But maybe had it been the right coach, they wouldn't have quit.
I think that the culture dynamic also kind of played into the way that team played. I mean, you still had NFL guys on that team, NFL draft picks all over the place. So I still think that it may have not been the least talented based off recruits and stuff like that, but it still might have been one of the maybe least disciplined, just not bought in completely. And I kind of think that's what Napier's doing right now, is just being able to tell all the guys around him to buy in and play for the guy next to you. And I just think that Dan Mullen, he wasn't really evolving to the new college football scene. Like we were saying earlier with the NIL and recruiting and stuff like that, it's a different ballgame than it was whenever he was offensive coordinator or quarterbacks coach for Urban Meyer, coaching Tim Tebow. It's a different game. So it may look the same on Saturdays, but it's a different game at the end of the day.
Yeah, well put. I think Ben got tied up. I was going to announce tonight, and I was going to announce it now, Mike McGinnis, the Ocala Quarterback Club, which you need to come to this year when you don't have a school night once or twice. great group of people. Mike McGinnis, the former SEC official, is the captain of the club. And I met with him yesterday on the board. It's terrific. Lauren Meadows just joined the board there, too. Matter of fact, the news tonight was that Mike said he has booked Ben Troop to come and speak again this year. So Ben, although he may not be on our show tonight because I can't see to locate him wherever he is, Ben will Ben will be coming to speak to us. Look forward to that. That'll be good. All right, Kyle, what else is in your world tonight as we wrap up your segment? You got your summering and you're doing what?
I'm going to Chicago next week for a family trip. And then other than that, kind of just getting ready for school, gearing up for senior year. We're kind of in a dead period for sports here. So I've been watching a little bit of Wimbledon, Ben Shelton.
I watched a little bit today, but didn't see Shelton. Tell me about the Shelton match. He lost a tough one, huh?
Yeah, I think and he was in a five set match the other night too. So, first Wimbledon, it was obviously probably a lot of nerves going, probably a little tired. But the fact that he's out there is just awesome, and being able to represent Florida.
Yeah,
being able to represent Florida in such a cool way.
Yeah. You all right? Yeah.
Sorry, it keeps breaking up a little bit, but
it's all right. We got you.
No, Wimbledon is there you go. All right. Yeah. Wimbledon, I was super happy that I was able to some sort of sports because for a while there, I've been watching NBA Summer League a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The hot dog eating contest. I don't know if you guys watch that.
Man, I don't like you. Don't tell me you watch that. I talked to David Bolts on that. I know about Joey Chestnut. What's he ever done besides fellows gorging himself in gluttony?
16-time champion. 16-time champion.
He ate 62 hot dogs. I heard it all. I talked to Moulton about it last night. Anybody calls that a sport, get out of my house. It's not a sport. Never will be a sport. Eating is not a sport. It's certainly not the amount of the food they consume there. As my grandmother would say, think of all those people starving overseas. You eating 62 hot dogs. Anyway, Dan Bond has a weigh in on that too. Yeah, eating contests and that's where Dan. Click in, Dan. Go ahead and get and I will talk to you as well. You got if you got the link, and we'll have a three-way on this. Eating hot dogs are not a sport. They're not a sport. So
it's hard to watch, honestly. The way that they're. I don't know. I always get so excited for it because the buildup is almost just as good as the actual event. The way that they all have their little walkout songs. That there's the woman's one. There was a girl named Glizzy Lizzie. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even know what they're coming up with.
There's a great name for you, Busy Lizzie. Look who showed up. There he is.
What's good with you, man? How's everything, Kyle?
We're gonna send out an APB on you, buddy.
Doing? Hey man, you know how I be sometimes, buddy. Technology be trying to mess with me when I'm not gonna let it beat me though. No sir.
Well, all right. Well, we've been holding the show for you. We were gonna wait and hold the announcement, but we had to go ahead and make it because we didn't know if you were coming. You'll be speaking to us this year at the Ocala Quarterback Club. I got a contact, got a text from the captain, Mike McGinnis. Very happy you'll be here. I guess that means I got to make that meeting that night. I don't know.
Hey, listen. Even if you don't make the meeting, man, I'm coming by the crib. I want to, I said, look, I'm coming to see Buddy. He was when Mike hit me up about coming to speak. He was like, he said, I know you're really coming out here to see Buddy, and we just kind of like I said, y'all the appetizer. Buddy is the entree, but always good to be in your city, man. Always good to be.
Looking forward to it. Now, look, can you settle this for that Kyle go to bed? His bedtime's at 10 o'clock, and he's coming up on it pretty quick. Eating hot dogs ain't no damn sport, okay?
Wait, whoa.
No. Don't you tell me you were one of those, too.
It's not so much as a sport. It's impressive. Because
it's an American.
It is, and the thing, I gotta say this. It ain't the hot dog.
I failed.
No. I didn't say it was.
I didn't say it was a sport either.
That's what the question was. Did y'all hear it? You'll not hear it? Okay. Just stay with the question. Is it a sport? Okay. No. Okay. Thank
Eating
you.
contests are not sports, and I will say this: anybody that can dip bread in water and eat it, that's man. May God bless you.
Dude.
There is no way. But no, buddy, I'm there. Listen, there's a lot of things in our sports. Eating contests are definitely one of them. The best eaters in the world. And I go, hey man, I knew he was going to be an athlete when he was a kid. No, he just can eat a lot in a short amount of time. That's not a sport. I'm sorry, that's not a sport.
Yeah, please. Thank you. I can go to bed now and eat my milk and cookies tonight and feel safe. And we don't think that the hot dog getters take over the world.
No. If you listen, in college, we always had one challenge. If anybody can eat a dozen Krispy Kreme donuts.
Donuts.
Because the thing about, I know it don't seem like much. You have to eat
They go down easy though.
It seemed easier than the thing. You get to like number 6, 7, them donuts get. Hey, I still don't know nobody that's done it. So that was our challenge.
All right, I'm gonna say good night to Kyle. Good job, Kyle, and that's a good story about that poll. We'll catch you again later on, Kyle. Have a good weekend. All right.
Yes, sir.
Now here's a guy who's going to agree with me right here. I had to get somebody who would. Eating hot dogs is not a sport. Am I right, Dan Vine?
Man, I got to jump in. What are you talking about? Eating hot dogs is a sport, or eating a burrito in like 10 seconds is a sport? No way.
There you go. Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah,
rescued me.
I mean, I've watched it, and it's something to see, but I don't want to watch that every year. No way.
Yeah. I don't think you know Ben. Dan, you know Ben. Ben, do you know Dan?
I went back and forth with Dan a lot on this chat over here, so it feels like I do know Dan.
Yeah, he's one of the brothers now. Yeah, he's one of the brothers. Yeah,
I've got you. You sent me that signed book.
Yes, sir.
There you go.
There you go. But I appreciate it. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So the reason I brought Dan up too is that there's some softball news tonight. Activity in the portal. Dan, can you give us a quick summation of what you found out?
Yeah, we've got 2 transfers coming in, which is great. You've got one out of Ole Miss, and you've got one out of Louisville. So we're adding some speed. The Louisville girl seems like she's a woman, is definitely a fast one, ran track in high school, and started every game since she's been at Louisville. Since freshman, she was all ACC. The Ole Miss player is kind of a utility player, so we'll see how she works out. They're looking to replace a couple of transfers out, obviously. We've had some graduation. We've got Del Bray transferring out as pitcher. We've got Sam Rowe at catcher transferring out. And then we've got that great class coming in. That's the number 1 overall class. Florida's got a new pitching coach. So we've got a lot to kind of set everything back the Gator way after missing super regionals for only the 3rd time since Walton's been there. So it's some good ads. Florida's had some. He's done a great job with those transfers. Yeah. Wallace transfer. Yeah. She's All-American. Really, their best player the last couple of years.
Yeah. So we had, you said, Corby Otis of Louisville. Started every game since a freshman, as you point out. So,
right.
Dan, as always, Dan does a great job on he can tell you all about Trinity. He knows everything about Trinity. Yeah, right? You want to know her life story?
The Women's Player of the Year just announced today, too. So that's a little bit of
what else
more
can she?
All right.
She's going to have to get a house just for her trophies. I mean, she got so many.
Yeah, she's gonna be around for years to come, I think. You're gonna see her be successful in whatever she does. She may go off and make a few million doing something in the real world.
Yeah,
and
come back and
coach. Who knows? She
may be the next head coach.
You never know. But
great stuff as always, Dan. We appreciate all you do, my friend. We'll look for your story on Gator Bait. Be in touch.
Certainly.
Look for Kyle. Email him a copy of it too, if you would. All right.
Oh, sure.
All right. Thank you, Dan. Take care, my friend.
All right.
Yes, sir.
All right, so Ben, I said this earlier. You know how this can be. Talking about these rumor mills. In this environment we're in right now, with so much crap being written and talked about, podcasts and off the wall things, the truth gets obscured a lot, and it's hard to know, even for us as trained journalists, what's valid and what's not. And I saw something today that kind of ticked me off. And it was some guy from Tennessee. Now, the reason I know it was Tennessee was a big old orange T behind his head. Allegedly a podcaster. I had never heard of him before. Talking about his inside information. Okay? Now, man, you know these guys who got inside information, right?
Mm-hmm.
That means their barber told them or something, you know. And so he goes on and says he had it on a good source. He had said DJ Lagway's flipping to Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of his sources was a Miami coach.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that's a great source for a Florida,
Yeah.
a Miami coach, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I just read it and I thought to myself, you know, there's so much wrong information, disinformation out there. After a while, you don't know what to believe. And there's another guy masquerading as a podcaster from Tennessee talking about a coach in Miami telling him this exclusive story he's got. I don't know, Ben. Is it me or is it getting on your nerves?
It doesn't get on my nerves anymore, buddy, because I think the thing is, I think Denzel Washington said it the best. He says, you know, what a tremendous, you know, responsibility we have as the media, but people care more about being first than being accurate. They just want to break a story, and I think
or make it up. Make it up.
Make it up. I think this is the thing, right? This is the thing. When it comes to DJ Lagway, right? The one thing I can say about him is this. He stood fast, one, with his commitment, and two, trying to make sure that this is going to be the best class that Billy Napier's ever had, even though it was second class. Now, do I expect rumors? Of course. Do I expect people to come out the woodwork saying all kinds of stuff about DJ Lagway? Of course. Why? Because he's one of the most highly sought out. He is the number one dual threat quarterback in that 2024 class. Now, another thing is this. It would not be Florida without rumors. The one thing you can say about the University of Florida is this: everybody takes interest in what we do, especially that team down south in Florida. And I think the thing about it is, I don't really put a lot of stock in what any podcast says. I don't care how relevant the podcast is. Josh Pate, you know, he does this stuff, and this is what he said. He said, "Look, I expect every last one of these players that signed with Florida in 2024 to still be there when 2024 comes, because." The thing about it is these players are looking around and they're saying to themselves, look, man, everything you need from a program, Florida checks the box. Every single thing. They don't lack anything. And I think the thing about it is with the DJ Lagway thing is I don't expect anything good to come from that team over there on the Panhandle or that team down South Florida as it pertains to Florida recruiting. Because, buddy, you know just like I know, in order to compete, you must be top 5 in recruiting. Florida's number 3 right now. They're number 3 right now. And I think the thing is people are saying, how is that possible? They didn't have a winning record right last year, right? They underwhelmed in the SEC East. How? Because Billy Napier understands this. Man, I don't lie to players. I don't have to. I don't make promises to players. I don't have to. And at the end of the day, when it comes to what Florida's trying to bring to the table, they have it in facilities. I already heard about this new thing they talking about with Ben Hill Griffin. That's going to be, you already know that's going to be state of the art. I don't know how it's going to look, but it's going to be crazy. But I wouldn't expect it. It took me going to Florida to really understand what people say. I hope you understand, man, what comes with going here. Rumors, lies, you know, mistruth, anything you want to call it. But, buddy, this is what I'm not worried about. The one thing that Florida had to get behind them, right, was the situation with the kid down there supposed to go to Miami, now it's Arizona State. They had to get that.
Rashada. Yeah.
Rashada. And I'm not mad at Rashada. Once they went from Gators Collective Florida victorious, that was over with. I don't got to talk about it no more. But the DJ Lagway thing, I would say this to whoever said it. Be original, though. That's not even.
Yeah, really.
That's not even.
Come up with something, right? Exactly.
I mean, give me a Miles Graham. Oh, that would be a little bit original, right? It's not. I think that what it does for me is letting me know that whenever I'm doing anything as it pertains to Florida, as much as I want to, and you got some great people out there doing, you know, Delatorre and Silk and all, you got some guys really doing it, right? Buddy Martin's
legitimate. But
the thing is, right, this is all they got to say. Hey, man, I want to break into the podcast business, and I don't know how to get people to listen.
Right.
That's what this is about.
So I'll make up stuff, and maybe I'll get a listen.
But it's a thing, too, though. However you come into this business, that's what you got to be able to sustain and maintain. Yeah, so you come in with sensationalized nonsense.
Right.
That's what people are going to expect you for. The problem is, you know, you cry wolf one too many times. The problem is that wolf is really down there. Ain't nobody going to believe you at this point. So Leave DJ Lagway out of it because he's an innocent bystander. That's nonsensical. But I will say this, Mr. Joe Milton, I think you're going to be a hell of a player for Tennessee next year. But when you start saying things like I've never lost to Florida, when Tennessee hasn't beat Florida at Florida since 2003, how do I know? That was my senior year. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I'm gonna say this. I'm a college football fan first, and then I root for them players, which I love college football. Players first, second, Florida third. That's how it goes. But Joe, all I'm saying is this: it was already fuel on the fire with y'all beating us last year the way you did. But to say I don't lose to Florida, we will see, and that's gonna make the game even better when they come back.
That's good. Now let me just stop you right there. I want to mention this guy on the screen. Francis coming aboard in just a second. He's there. This man, Thomas Wilkin. He wrote me the kindest note tonight, and he wrote me that he had a copy of one of my old books. I think Franz might remember, Down Where the Old Gators Play. And he said he's he's a serviceman. He now lives. He's from Queens, New York. He's finally I guess he's settled in there. He wants to come to a Gator game. He's a very lonely man right now.
Tell him about Gotham Gators up there in New York.
Well, he's here now though. He's in Jackson.
He's here now. Okay,
yeah. And so he was such a kind man. And I told him tonight to check out the show, and he did. He's on there now. Thomas, his girlfriend, and his girl, I guess. And we're going to talk to him soon. And I appreciate his kind words about reading the books. And yes, thank you. And we'll take care of you on those books, Thomas. Thanks for checking in, brother. We'll talk over the weekend. All right. Now let's go to the Orange and Blue room where the guy who was the Iron Duke is getting impatient with me. I can tell. Let's see where he is now. There he is. What's up, Francis?
Another day in paradise. Been to Tampa and back today.
Wow.
Getting my mom to see her macular degeneration doctor.
Yeah.
And fortunately, the 5 o'clock traffic at Tampa allowed me an opportunity to see the city at 6 miles an hour. I mean,
that's like this. That's when I lived in Tampa. That sounds about right. I mean, with all them highways and veterans highways, it doesn't matter. It is gridlock, people.
Everything is under construction, and I heard something on a radio show today that this state is growing at the rate of 2,000 Californians a week.
Wow.
This state is growing at such a pace that they anticipate it's gained 500,000 people in the last 18 months, and they anticipate that we will double that in the next 18.
That's scary. Wow. I tell you, they screwed up one state, now they're coming to screw up ours.
No state tax, baby. The best weather in the country. You cannot beat it. Cannot beat it.
Well, it just goes to show you, let me make a correlation with what's going on here. More people is going to mean more kids playing sports, which means our already good high school sports are going to get better because we're going to have more athletes, more competition, and it's going to result in more great athletes for the football playing schools in this state and the basketball and the baseball playing schools too. Can't slight them to get better players. It's going to mean the whole state gets better in all sports. My goodness, this is phenomenal what's going on here. Florida's got Florida. I remember the days, and Buddy does too, is before you were even an idea, Ben, when Florida was a little in 1960, the population of Florida was barely 3 million people. Since then it's almost 22, 23 million now, and they estimate it's going to be 25 million in another couple of years.
Just make us some good football players we can get to Gainesville. That's all we care about. We'll bring them all.
and what it's going to result in is like I said, you're going to have more kids playing football, baseball, basketball, and it's going to, and the sports here are going to get better because of that.
Yeah.
You got the weather that allows kids to play, but for example, you get how many great baseball players come out of New York these days? Not too many. How many great football players come out of New York? Not too many. And the reason being is the weather. Kids down here and the fanaticism. Kids down here play year round. You know that, Ben. You've been in this state, and it's like that in Georgia, which is growing like crazy too. Kids play year round, and that's going to end up benefiting the University of Florida in a big way. It's also going to mean the tax base increases, which means the University of Florida is going to get more money. It means we're going to have more boosters at the University of Florida.
And more subscribers to Gator Bait. That's a good thing right there, right? Trickle down.
Of course, I'm saving the best for
right,
last.
Right. Now, Francis, let me get to you on something real quick because we got Lauren standing by. You had a really good piece today, and Ben, I want you to sign off on this too, on the offensive lines of the SEC offensive line. And as is said by many, the SEC is a line of scrimmage league. And your assessment on Florida, I think you ranked them 6. And you talked about Rob Sales, talking about Micah Mazuka, whatever his name is.
Micah Mazuka.
Yeah, right. Looks like somebody ready to win a bar brawl. And you talked about how the Kentucky transfer, Keonta Goodman, and Damian George from Alabama will be, and then Austin Barber. Your lineup, and then Gunkman is back. Talk about that assessment. Sounds like it could be a really good offensive line. And they should be able to run the football and protect. As you point out, the Gators allowed only 17 sacks in 13 games. So comment on that, and we'll get Lauren in here.
Well, here's the thing, is Florida, Rob Sale, all you got to do is look at what he did at Louisiana. They had that same kind of transformation from year 1 to year 2, and they were good in the first year. They got much better the second year. And there's depth on this team. There is size. This is going to be a monstrous offensive line. When you think about it, you're going to have, Kingsley Egwakun in the middle is 301, but he's going to be surrounded by Mazuka, 329. I think Damian George will end up moving inside. He's 369. Goodwin on the outside, 353. And then poor old Austin Barber, he's down there a measly 311 pounds, but I think he's going to probably be about 320, 322 when he comes back.
Ben, how'd you like to block them guys, Ben?
In the summer.
Oh, I would love to block with him. I would love to be. I would love. Yeah. I think the thing about what his offensive line has is they have experienced guys coming from other teams in the SEC, and they have guys coming back from the offensive line of the previous year. And the thing about it is, running the football means that's attitude football. That's saying, look, man, we're gonna cater to what you guys do. We're gonna have you guys lean on guys. Yes, we're gonna have complimentary football in the passing game, but Florida, we forget in 1 year, Billy Napier was able to go from, we ain't even, forget a dismal running game. Listen, and this is not to rag on Dan Mullen. We didn't even try to run the ball. It wasn't even a focus. To now, oh man, you talking about the backs we got coming back with the backs we brought in with a retooled offensive line. I think Florida got a shot to be really, really good because no matter how you feel, the best teams in the country, let alone the SEC, run the football. They run it very, very efficiently, and I think that's going to make it so that, even though I don't like the fact that Graham Mertz was rated the worst quarterback in the SEC coming back, I don't like stuff like that. But I just think that just comes with the program being, a guy coming in as a transfer. I like what we got with the offensive line because the hardest thing is to figure out the scheme. Well, they got the scheme. You brought in guys, from the SEC. You brought in guys that understand what they're trying to do. Mm-hmm. I like it. And our smartest player, our smartest player is the center. He is the smartest guy on that offensive line right now. So I like what we got. I just think that when it comes to Florida, establishing the run game is going to be the difference in, winning games and losing games in the fourth quarter. That way you can, that 4 minute, and you can find a way to get 2 first downs to kill the clock. I like what we got with the O-line. Like I said, cute offensive linemen, look good in pass, they don't win games. Big guys, I mean, I saw those guys standing next to Javon Dexter, and Javon Dexter didn't even look massive anymore. Standing next to a lot of those guys when they came out there for Friday Night Lights or whatever it was. So I like our O-line. And like I said, having a guy like Shannon Snell who can impart his wisdom on these guys every Thursday is only going to benefit.
You woke Lauren up now. You talk too loud. And you woke him up. All right, stand back, Coach. I'm going to do this commercial coming back. I want you to weigh in, all of you, on the new stadium we expect to have in who knows when.
Jeffrey, what are you doing?
Well, I'm joining the band, of course. Since Meldon Law is the official law firm partner of the Florida Gators, I want to help.
Dad, we're litigators. Let's stick to helping people in the courtroom.
Well, can we still hang out and jam a little bit? At Meldon Law, we won't back down.
No, here you go. He'll take care of it. Good evening to you, Lauren. Say good evening to Franz and to Ben. We've been going a while here. Earlier we had Kyle Curtis. How's it going up there, Coach?
Going well. Just kind of hanging out. Headed to the beach this weekend for a little R&R. But good to see these fine gentlemen on the screen, and good evening to you as well. And just getting ready. What we got about less than 60 days away. So
it's here. After July 4th ends, it's football season, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, it's time to roll. And before we know it, we'll be over at the Hefner Complex watching a little football, getting ready, getting geared up, and maybe talking to a few of the guys, and should be fun. I'm looking forward to it. And then headed out west to Utah, so.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, yes, I'm ready for it. Now, look, here's the deal. This big story of the week was the refurbishment of Ben Hill Griffin, a.k.a. Steve Spurrier, Florida Field, etc., one time just called Florida Field, and the $400 million they've got to start with a little seed money for an architect to refurbish. We all have our own little peccadillos about that stadium. Franz and mine will be the press box, which has now become not just the worst in the SEC, but one of the worst in the country. But nobody cares about that, Franz, except us. But there's a lot that could be done about this. And I don't know. I haven't seen any blueprints on it. And I know there's been everything from blow it up and start over to move it to another site, to shrink it by 10, 12, 15,000 seats. And we know about the restroom problems and all the things that come. I heard with Newen today, or yesterday with Allie, she said she heard say, they said the foundation is in trouble. The foundation is whatever. I will start with you, Franz. You're the most informed of the subject. And just take it each a couple of minutes on what we think we'd like them to do to what is now known as Ben Hill Griffin, a.k.a. Steve Spurrier, Florida Field.
I think capacity is going to go down to about 83 or 84,000. And here's the thing: you can add 6 inches to each seat there. I mean, let me tell you what: if you're more than 5'10" and 180 pounds, the seating there is kind of tight. 6 inches may not sound like much, but you put 6 inches, you put chair backs in there, which I think is the next thing, and decrease the capacity. Auburn's one of the great examples I could use. Auburn has a stadium that could expand easily to 100,000. It is a beautiful stadium, one of the great stadiums in all of college football. They've kept it at 87,000. Why? Because they've been able to add things there. It's a great venue. There's not bad seats in it. And it's a place where you don't have to be on the slim fast plan to be comfortable. Florida, I think, is going to follow somewhat of the Auburn blueprint by decreasing the capacity somewhat. There's a problem. People have said for years, well, why don't we put skyboxes on the on the east side. Well, you can't put skyboxes on the east side because Old Florida Gym and the pool there have been declared National Historic Landmarks. Can't do that. So you're going to have to face up with a decreased capacity, but that's all right. You can make up for that by making people more comfortable. Besides that, how many games sold out with 90,000 in these past 2 years? Not too many. The loudest crowd I can remember in the last 5 years, let's say, is Auburn in 2019 when Kyle Trask lit up Auburn. There wasn't a seat to be had there. The place was absolutely electric, and the Gators won that game. And to me, that is the epitome of what you want. But you're not doing that every day. You got too many games where you could take a shotgun up in parts of the stadium and shoot it and not hit anybody on most games. I remember a couple years ago when Vanderbilt comes here. My gosh, they listed the crowd, I think, at 88,000. There may have been 78,000 here. They list that because what they're doing is they count the number of tickets. So they've got things they can do. We have a suggestion of suites in the end zone. We've got those in the north end zone. They've got suites there. Don't have them in the south end zone. Don't know if they could put them in, but maybe they could. But they're going to be able to do some things there. Yeah. There's room to expand outward in even on the east side. Now you may not have enough room for skyboxes, but you've got some room to expand outward that would increase the ability to get in and out of the place. We had a suggestion just a couple of minutes ago of some of these escalators. They have them in a lot of pro stadiums that people can move in and out. It works. They're going to add things like they're going to increase the scoreboards and stuff like that. I think, though, when it's all said and done, and I do think they will improve the press box. Scott Strickland, for people who don't know, Scott Strickland was one of the great SIDs.
Back when they had the SIDs, they don't have them anymore.
Yeah, but he was at Kentucky.
Oh, yeah.
I used to go up to Kentucky for basketball and even for football. Yeah. And my gosh, they treated you well.
Of course they did. Old school. Hey, friends, I got to interrupt this for a bulletin, okay? I'm sorry. Hold on. Now, this is Thomas Wilkin. He called me tonight about his book, one of my books. He's a retired serviceman from Jacksonville, and he has an announcement about him and his girl, okay? Here it is right here. He's asking Rebecca, not my Rebecca, to marry him. So congratulations to Thomas and to Rebecca. And that's wonderful. I hope she accepts, Thomas. Yeah, well, I'll give him a hand. I don't have my clap. All right. So anyway, thanks, Thomas. I'll talk to you. I don't know you, but I look forward to meeting you. Final thought, friends. I'm going to pass it over to Ben and see if he can give us his take.
I think people are panicking way ahead of things, and I don't think there's any need to. It's kind of like this. If one of the ways I could make myself, the body men fear and women adore, twisted steel and sex appeal would
don't be talk to about me like that. Now, please.
would be to go get lipo and a tummy tuck. Mm-hmm. I could do that. And I could even get implants, chest implants, to make me look like Ben Troop, big and powerful. And I'd be a lean, mean machine like Lauren Meadows if I could do that.
Yeah.
Think of it like this.
I could get a face implant. That'd be well. I could do it help a lot. So
think of it like this. We're gonna give the old lady's gonna get a tummy tuck, some lipo, a little bit of Botox, and she's going to shed a few pounds, and she's going to look pretty good.
All right, here we go. Let's go on over to Ben Troop. Ben, and stand by, Lauren. You get your time. Tell us what you'd like to see us do with what used to be called Florida Field.
I mean, obviously, when it comes to the fans, I mean, just catering to them, I do agree with what Fran said about it. It makes no sense. You need to accommodate the people who are showing up to these games, especially in the fall when it's 100 degrees, and the least you can do is make sure they're comfortable. I understand the Jumbotron situation and trying to make a bigger one, but 80-something thousand fans and 90-something thousand fans is not going to sound any different if the team is winning and it's loud. You cannot tell the difference, and stadium capacities aren't really the thing anymore. I know it used to be something to brag about, to say, oh, we got a 90-something thousand dollar stadium or 100-something thousand capacity stadium up there in Tyson, England. You know, we talk about Tennessee. I think now it's more or less, how do I accommodate the people who pay for those seats? And I do think the escalators is a good thing. You got $400 million. We should be able to tell. And when you're not accommodating to the people that make sure that pack the stadium, you're doing a disservice. And I think that if you're going to do facilities for recruits, you need to make sure you accommodate the stadium to the fans. You should be thinking about them with every single thing. And I think that in a situation where you got $400 million, if you can't do with that, that's a problem. Because the thing about Florida is, yes, you want to sell out every game, but you can't tell if we talk about, like, you know, our friends said they talk about they count the tickets. I think at the end of the day, $400 million is enough to get a better press box, right? A more appealing one. That's for the people coming to scout. You make sure you do those bathrooms, and you talk about escalators and things of that nature. And I don't think nothing is off the table, but going to a smaller capacity as far as like 80-some thousand compared to 90-some, I think that's more than doable, because at the end of the day, to have a big stadium for the sake of having a big stadium really doesn't serve anybody. Like I said, and this is not to give them. If you've ever been to Mercedes-Benz in Atlanta, there isn't a bad seat in that dome. It really, really isn't. What they did with that dome, even though Florida's never going to be a dome, I'm not saying that. They made it so that it is accommodating for everybody there, no matter where you are. You're at the nosebleeds or you're right there on the 50-yard line. So I do think that you don't make this big announcement. We should be able to tell as onlookers and fans that you've accommodated to the people paying for the tickets, and you should make it so that people can move around and sit comfortably. I mean, at the end of the day, I just came from the movies this weekend, and thank God they leather seats or whatever, and everybody don't mind sitting next to each other, but we're comfortable. You need to think comfort when it comes to the people paying, to the fans, and if you do that, I'm looking forward to it, because like I said, do not use the $400 million to keep buddying up with these people in these box seats. I get it, but you can't just make it all about them. I mean, they got the best seats in the house, no matter what you do. So accommodate to the fans to be great.
All right, so then one more here, and I'm gonna let France join us in a minute. Here's the deal: I'm in favor of reducing the seats. I don't know what the right number is to get the comfort. You're right about all the amenities, what have you. But I want to say one thing. Keep in mind, the reason I got you two guys on the screen, not me and France, is your competitors. Think about the swamp. What is the swamp? It's a hole in the ground. People sitting on top. It's hot. It's it's rowdy. 90,000 strong. And if you start taking away people and seats, you don't got that 90,000 anymore. I know there's room for it. And you don't mess around with the chemistry that they got in the swamp and start messing up with the seats and numbers. Next thing you know, and the other thing is, I wrote a column in the name of progress, right? That's that word again, progress. Be careful about messing around with something you got it right. Don't come back with something that say, oh, I'm sorry, we should have done it that way. Too late. Your 400, 600, 800 million is gone. You've done it. And if you can't get it back, you've lost it. So it is one of the most iconic arenas in all the country in any sport. I give you the floor, Lauren.
I mean, like I said, I agree with what you just said. And obviously, as somebody who saw, Ben Hill Griffin Stadium as a mecca, I mean, I literally cried the first time I went to a game there. And, for me growing up in Ohio, But being a Florida Gator fan, all I wanted to do was see a game in the Swamp. But I will say now that I've seen, 25, 30 now, it's a little different for me. And I can relate to both sides of it. Like I said, it is one of the, venerable venues in all of sports. But people are not coming to the games anymore. And it's because of a lot of different things, like somebody mentioned cold hot dogs and things like that. I mean, I think people, $400 million is not just going to allow you to fix the place structurally, but it's going to allow you to, like I said, build a concourse that's 360 around the stadium and put things in place where you have specialized food items and things like that. All those things to allow the person attending the game to feel as comfortable as they possibly can feel. And like I said, I agree with Ben. When a place is rocking, anywhere between 80,000 to 90,000 is a is a good. It's going to be a good crowd, especially if the Gators are knocking down 10, 11 wins a year. I mean, the students are going to come. People are going to be there because it's going to be, and especially when you're talking about Texas and Oklahoma and some of those teams coming in that haven't really come to Gainesville on a consistent basis. Now you're going to have that, year in, year out, those high profile games. And now you got a nice scene for a game, and it's a lot more comfortable. I think people will be, they'll be engaged, and I think it's a good thing. It's time. It is broke. I mean, that somebody said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It is broke. I mean, the research shows you that. Anything visually shows you that. And I think like I'll give, like Fran said, I think Scott Strickland, like I said, I didn't know him as an SID. I know that was his background. But I think he's also shown himself to be very astute when it comes to facilities management as well, and kind of overseeing that whole business. So I think that he respects the traditions and the history of the Swamp and what it means to people like yourself, buddy. And I think they will be very mindful to make sure that the character and the nostalgia and even the intimidation that can come with that place on a September afternoon with the heat and things like that, I think they'll be very mindful to preserve that as well.
All great stuff. Any final comments? Both everybody's got at least 30 seconds. Fran's got your hand up.
All right. Back when Spurrier was the head coach here, capacity was 84,000. It was just as loud as it is now with 90.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Ben?
I agree. I mean, I was blessed enough to be on Spurrier's last two teams. If you are rocking, it doesn't matter. I mean, if you are rocking in the Swamp, and you saying, man, if we would have had 6 more thousand, man, no. You're not gonna miss 6. And I will say, I know. Before I came on, buddy, I mean, I saw in one of the comments, man, a lot of people that got let go by the big bad ESPN, some big time names.
Yeah.
Look, it happens to the best. I mean, it happens to the best. The only people that don't get fired are the people that own the company. And all they do is shut the company down. So everybody has gotten fired at a certain point. It happens. If somebody gave you 5 to 10 years to make millions of dollars, they've done you the biggest favor that anybody can do. Move on and find something else to do. May God bless you all.
Don't get me started, because I'm sitting on a call right now about this, about working for ESPN. We're all working for ESPN, all right? You're taking a man's money, you're going to dance the man's tune. They got too much control, too much power. They've let it go, and they're going to even get more because there will be millions and millions more. So let's be honest about it. Ain't nobody got any influence but ESPN. That's how it is. So I'd like to leave on a little better note than that tonight, if I could. Anybody got something light to say?
Anna Hall leads the heptathlon after one day at the national championships in Eugene, Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
Talitha Diggs advanced in the 400, and Ryan Willie won his heat in the 400, and Ja'Cory Patterson also advanced. So some Florida Gators made it out west, and they're rocking and rolling. So could be a fun weekend for a lot of Gators.
All right, anybody else?
Florida finished 5th in the Directors' Cup without any points from basketball and football. If they get those two programs right, Florida will be top 1, 2, 3 every single year. And I do believe they're going to get those things right.
Good stuff, man.
And buddy, I know you root for a team in Florida called the Tampa Bay Rays.
Don't be coming in here right now.
Listen,
Just cause the Rays won 7 or 8 in a row. Here you go. I said go out with something positive, not something bad.
Bravos like me. I just gotta let you know.
I knew I was.
Jr. before the All-Star game already has 2 stolen bases. He is trying to be the first ever 50-40. Just saying. He's trying to be the first ever 50-40. I'm just saying.
It's bad enough that the Phillies beat the Rays tonight. Again, they lost 3 in a row, so don't rub it in, okay?
Listen, you need to come to the winning side. I got plenty of Rays.
Hey, it's a long way out. There's still 4.5 games in first place, all right?
So we finna get ready to play them Rays. We finna
France, can you rescue me, France, please? Rescue me, France.
Let me put it this way. After starting 20-0, the Rays are like 38-32, something like that. Right now, let's see. They're
more than that, better than that.
No, they're
13 in a row.
They won their first. What was it? I thought they won their first 19 games.
13
like that,
at home, I think is what it was.
Well, but overall, I think they started out 19-0.
Well, they're like 4 or 5 games out in first place ahead of everybody too. So.
But right now, since they had that big start, let's just compromise and say it was 15 wins overall. Okay.
Yeah.
Since starting out 15-0, they are 42-33. Okay.
Right.
They've got injuries, and they got to get their mojo back, or because if they don't get their mojo back, they're going to be looking over their shoulder, and they don't want to do that.
Well, they got 3 guys in the All-Star game. They would have had 4 if McClanahan hadn't gotten there. Anyway.
How many do the Braves got? Do the Braves
Good night, Ben. Good night, Ben. Ben, I got a trigger on the finger over here. Love you guys. Great job, fellas.
All right, now.
Good night.
Everybody have a good weekend.
Thank you, too. Thank you. All right, folks, I want to just wrap it up by giving thanks to my friends at Renstar, special bunch of people, and been a special friend of mine, and people who have supported this town and have supported this show, and they've done a terrific job in doing so. Renstar Medical Research, they do some terrific work here. Just so you know, if you don't, they have a reputation as a high-quality, patient-centered clinical research facility downtown. Cutting-edge clinical research trials are held there, and things like Alzheimer's, dementia, psoriasis, osteoarthritis, migraines, and fibromyalgia, along with many other conditions that affect our community. One thing about it, they're looking for ways to improve our health in this community, and they offer opportunities for you to take part in some of the clinical research programs. If you'd like to be a part of them, they can qualify. Go to renstar.net and find out. They take this information and they send it to prominent biomedical companies and pharmaceutical companies around the world, and that's how they do their business. So check them out, renstar.net. Renstar Medical Research, seeking tomorrow's answers to the health questions of today. Have a great weekend, folks. Thanks to our guests tonight, Kyle Curtis, Ben Troop, Lauren Meadows, France Beard, and Dan Bond sitting in special tonight. We'll check out Gator Bait Magazine coming up this weekend. Some good stuff there. Appreciate your support in the program and being here tonight. Good night, everybody. Have a great weekend.